The stadium lights went dark. At exactly 9:47 p.m. on February 14, 1973, inside the Hong Kong Coliseum, something happened that was never part of the program. 12,000 people began to sing. Not the song that was scheduled. Not the performance they had paid to see. Something else entirely. Something spontaneous. Something that rose from the crowd like a wave and crashed over the stage with a force that no one had anticipated. Bruce Lee was sitting in the VIP section, row 3, center. He had come to watch a charity concert, to support a cause, to enjoy an evening of music with Linda by his side. He had not come to hear his own name echoing from 12,000 voices. But that is exactly what happened. And for 4 minutes and 37 seconds, the most composed man in Asia sat frozen in his seat, tears streaming down his face, unable to move, unable to speak, unable to do anything except listen to a stadium full of strangers singing a song about him. This is the story of that night. The concert that stopped. The song no one expected. And the moment when Bruce Lee discovered what he truly meant to the people of Hong Kong. This is the night the city sang for its hero. Hong Kong. February 1973. The Lunar New Year charity concert was an annual tradition. Hong Kong's biggest stars gathered to perform, raise money for local causes, and celebrate the coming year together. It was the social event of the season, attended by celebrities, politicians, business leaders, and thousands of ordinary citizens who saved all year for tickets. Bruce Lee had been invited as a guest of honor, not as a performer. He was a martial artist, an actor, not a singer. His role was simple. Sit in the VIP section, be photographed, wave to the crowd during the introduction of notable guests, perhaps say a few words if called upon. He arrived with Linda at 7:30 p.m. The red carpet was chaos, as always. Photographers screamed his name. Fans pressed against barriers. Security struggled to maintain order. Inside the Coliseum, they found their seats. Row 3, center section. Perfect view of the stage. Surrounded by other celebrities, producers, directors, the elite of Hong Kong entertainment. The concert began at 8 p.m. The first hour featured Hong Kong's most popular singers. Romantic ballads, upbeat pop songs, traditional Cantonese opera selections. The audience cheered, sang along, celebrated the holiday spirit. Bruce watched with apparent enjoyment. He applauded each performer. He leaned over occasionally to comment to Linda. He seemed relaxed, happy, present in the moment. At 9:30 p.m., the concert's headliner took the stage. A young singer named Samuel Hui, one of Hong Kong's rising stars. His voice was smooth, his stage presence magnetic. The crowd loved him. Samuel performed 3 songs to thunderous applause. Then he paused, microphone in hand, and addressed the audience. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said, "I have something special planned for tonight. Something that wasn't on the program." The crowd murmured. Surprises at charity concerts were common. Usually a guest appearance. A duet with another star. Something entertaining. Samuel continued. "As many of you know, we have a very special guest with us tonight. Someone who has done more for Hong Kong's reputation in the world than perhaps anyone in our history." The spotlights began to move, searching the audience. Someone who has shown the entire planet that we are not small, not invisible, not secondary. Someone who has made children across Asia believe that they can be heroes too. The spotlight found Bruce Lee. The audience erupted. Cheers. Applause. The sound of 12,000 people expressing their love for one man. Bruce raised his hand in acknowledgement. He smiled. He was accustomed to this. The attention, the adulation, the performance of gracious celebrity. But Samuel wasn't finished. The spotlight remained on Bruce as Samuel spoke again. "Mr. Lee, I hope you'll forgive me for what I'm about to do. I wrote something, a song, and I've never performed it publicly before. But tonight feels like the right moment." Bruce's expression shifted. He hadn't known about this. This wasn't planned. This wasn't the usual celebrity acknowledgement. The musicians on stage began to play. A simple melody. Piano. Strings. Something gentle and sincere. Samuel began to sing. The song was in Cantonese. It told the story of a boy who watched martial arts films and dreamed of being strong. A boy who was small and weak and told by everyone that he would never amount to anything. A boy who one day saw a man on screen who looked like him, fought like a god, and won against impossible odds. The chorus repeated a single phrase. "Our hero, our dragon, our proof that we exist." The audience listened in silence. This wasn't a typical pop song. This was something deeper, something more personal, something that captured a feeling that many in that stadium shared but had never heard expressed in music. Then something extraordinary happened. As Samuel reached the chorus for the second time, voices began to join him. Scattered at first. A few people in the upper sections who knew the melody somehow, who felt it instinctively, who couldn't help but sing along. Subscribe and leave a comment. Because what happened next would stay with everyone in that stadium forever. The voices spread. Not organized. Not rehearsed. Just spontaneous human response to something that touched something deep. By the third chorus, thousands were singing. The melody was simple enough to follow. The words were printed on screens at the sides of the stage, added at the last minute by Samuel's team who had hoped for exactly this moment. Our hero, our dragon, our proof that we exist. 12,000 voices, rising together, filling the Coliseum with a sound that no single performer could ever create. The spotlight remained on Bruce Lee, and Bruce Lee was not moving. Linda, sitting beside him, later described what she saw. His face had gone completely still, not the composed stillness of performance, the stillness of someone experiencing something overwhelming, something beyond what the mind can process in real time. Tears began to flow down his cheeks. He made no attempt to hide them, made no attempt to wipe them away. He sat perfectly still, tears streaming, watching 12,000 people sing a song about what he meant to them. The song continued, verse after verse, Samuel's voice leading, the crowd following, the melody rising and falling like breath. There were lyrics about children who had been bullied finding courage, about young men who had been told they were nothing finding pride, about an entire generation of Asian youth discovering that their faces, their bodies, their identities could be heroic. All because of one man. All because Bruce Lee had refused to accept the limitations the world tried to place on him. The final chorus approached. Samuel gestured for the musicians to soften, to let the crowd's voice dominate. And the crowd responded. 12,000 voices, unaccompanied now, singing in unison. The melody filled every corner of the Coliseum. The sound was massive, overwhelming, physical. You could feel it in your chest, in your bones, in that place where emotion lives before words can capture it. Our hero, our dragon, our proof that we exist. The song ended. Silence. For perhaps 5 seconds, the stadium was absolutely quiet. The kind of silence that follows something sacred. The kind of silence that acknowledges that something has just happened that cannot be repeated, cannot be planned, cannot be manufactured. Then the applause began. Not just applause. Cheers. Shouts. The release of 12,000 people who had just participated in something unexpected and beautiful. The spotlight remained on Bruce Lee. He still hadn't moved. Linda touched his arm gently. Bruce. He turned to look at her. His face was wet with tears. His eyes were red. But his expression was something she had rarely seen. Vulnerability. Complete, unguarded vulnerability. I didn't know, he whispered. His voice was thick. I didn't know it meant that much. Linda squeezed his hand. Now you know. The Coliseum was still cheering, still applauding, still calling his name. Bruce stood. 12,000 people rose with him. The standing ovation continued for nearly 3 minutes. Bruce stood in the spotlight, tears still visible on his face, making no attempt to hide them, receiving the love of a city that had claimed him as its own. Eventually, Samuel spoke again. Mr. Lee, would you honor us with a few words? Bruce made his way to the stage. His walk was steady, but there was something different in his bearing. Something softer. Something opened. He took the microphone. The stadium fell silent again. Waiting. Bruce looked out at the sea of faces. 12,000 people who had just sung for him, who had just shown him, in a way that no award or box office record could ever show, what his work actually meant. He tried to speak. Stopped. Gathered himself. I have given many speeches, he said finally. Interviews. Press conferences. Public appearances. I have learned how to say what people expect to hear. How to perform the role they want me to play. He paused. Tonight, I don't know what to say. His voice was raw, unpolished, real. I came to Hong Kong 5 years ago as a failure. Hollywood had rejected me. America had no place for someone who looked like me. I came home with nothing except determination and a dream that most people thought was impossible. He looked down at the microphone in his hands. You gave me a chance. You watched my films. You told your friends. You made me successful not because Hollywood approved, not because the West validated me, but because you decided that I was worth watching." His voice strengthened slightly. "When I make films, I think about you. Not critics, not executives, not international audiences. I think about the boy in Kowloon who needs to see someone like him winning. I think about the girl in Wan Chai who needs to believe that strength comes in all forms. I think about every person in Hong Kong who has ever been told they are too small, too weak, too Chinese to matter." He looked up again. "You matter. You have always mattered. And tonight, you showed me something I will carry for the rest of my life." He gestured toward the crowd. "That song, those voices, 12,000 people singing together. That wasn't about me. That was about us. About what we have built together. About what it means to be Hong Kong in a world that has often overlooked us." He was crying again now, not trying to stop it. "I am not your hero. I am your reflection. I am the version of you that ended up on screen. Everything I have, every success, every achievement, came from you. From your support. From your belief. From your refusal to accept that we are secondary to anyone." He bowed deeply. A bow of genuine humility. A bow of gratitude beyond words. "Thank you, all of you, for reminding me why I do this. For showing me that the work matters. For singing for me when I could not sing for myself." He remained bowed for several seconds. When he rose, the applause returned. But different now. Softer. More personal. The applause of a family rather than an audience. Share and subscribe. Because the aftermath of that night changed everything. Bruce returned to his seat. Linda took his hand. They watched the rest of the concert in relative quiet. But something had shifted. Bruce seemed different. Lighter somehow. As if a weight he had been carrying had been lifted by 12,000 voices singing in unison. After the concert, backstage, Bruce found Samuel Hui. The young singer was nervous. He had taken a significant risk, writing a song about a living legend, performing it without warning, creating a moment that could have been embarrassing if it had failed. It hadn't failed. Bruce embraced him. "How long have you been working on that song?" Samuel was surprised by the warmth. 6 months. I started writing it after I watched Way of the Dragon for the 3rd time. I couldn't stop thinking about what it felt like to see you on screen, to see someone from Hong Kong being heroic." Bruce nodded slowly. "You captured something I've never been able to express about myself. Something I didn't even know was there." He stepped back. "That line, our proof that we exist. Where did that come from?" Samuel was quiet for a moment. "When I was young, before your films, I used to watch American movies. Cowboys, soldiers, detectives. All the heroes looked the same. None of them looked like me." He met Bruce's eyes. "When I saw you, I realized something. I had spent my whole childhood wondering if people like us could be heroes. Your films answered that question. You proved that we exist, that we matter, that our stories are worth telling." Bruce was silent. Then he spoke. "I have received awards, trophies, box office records, critical praise. All of it means something. But tonight meant more." He touched his chest. "Because tonight, I heard what my work actually sounds like to the people it was made for. Not numbers on a page. Not statistics in a report. 12,000 voices singing the truth that I had almost forgotten." He looked toward the exit, where the sounds of the dispersing crowd could still be heard. "I make films for them. Not for Hollywood. Not for international markets. Not for anyone who needs convincing that Asian stories matter. For the people who already know it. Who have always known it. Who just needed someone to show it on screen." He turned back to Samuel. "Keep writing songs like that. Songs that tell people who they are. Songs that remind them that their existence is not an accident or an afterthought, but a purpose." Samuel nodded. He would remember this conversation for the rest of his career. Bruce Lee left the stadium that night at nearly midnight. The crowds had mostly dispersed, but a few hundred fans remained near the exits, hoping for a glimpse of him. When he emerged, they began to sing. The same melody, the same words. "Our hero, our dragon, our proof that we exist." Bruce stopped walking. He stood in the cold February night, surrounded by strangers who had become something more than strangers, and he listened. He didn't wave, didn't pose for photographs, didn't perform. He just listened. When the singing faded, he bowed once more. Then he got into his car and drove home. Linda asked him later what he was thinking during those final moments outside the stadium. Bruce was quiet for a long time before answering. "I was thinking about my father. About how he used to tell me that an artist's job is to hold up a mirror to the people, to show them what they already are but cannot see for themselves." He paused. "Tonight, the people held up a mirror to me. They showed me what I am, what my work means, what my life has been for. He looked at Linda. I had almost forgotten. In all the business, the negotiations, the Hollywood games, the international strategies, I had almost forgotten why I started. He smiled slightly. 12,000 people reminded me. February 14th, 1973. Hong Kong Coliseum. A charity concert became something more. A song became a declaration. A crowd became a chorus. And a man who had spent his life proving himself discovered that the proof had already been accepted, that the question had already been answered, that his existence and the existence of everyone he represented had never truly been in doubt. Our hero, our dragon, our proof that we exist. The song was never officially recorded. Samuel Hui performed it a few times in subsequent concerts, but without the spontaneous chorus, without the 12,000 voices, it was never quite the same. Some things can only happen once. Some moments exist outside of time, beyond reproduction, resistant to capture. February 14th, 1973 was one of those moments. Bruce Lee lived for 5 more months. He died on July 20th, 1973, 32 years old, at the beginning of everything and the end of everything. But on that February night, surrounded by song, he knew. He knew what his life had been for. He knew what his work had meant. He knew that somewhere in the voices of 12,000 strangers was the answer to every question he had ever asked about his purpose, his value, his place in the world. Our hero, our dragon, our proof that we exist. The proof was never in doubt. It just took a city singing to make him hear it. This story is a work of fiction inspired by real-life themes.